The last time I saw her, she was crying again, and then, just like that, she was gone. They asked me to tell them everything, from the beginning. I wanted to say I didn't know where the beginning was, because it never felt like a beginning. It felt like something I fell into, silently, helplessly. Her name was Elise, and I watched her cry every night. It started on a Tuesday, just after dinner, just after I convinced myself that life would always stay this boring, predictable rhythm. I was wrong. I saw her through my window. She had just moved into the house next door. I'd never seen her before, not at school, not in town. She looked lonely, the kind of lonely you don't always notice in people unless you're lonely yourself. She was sitting by her window, legs pulled up to her chest, arms wrapped around them. Her head was buried in her knees, and her body trembled softly. Then she looked up, and I saw the tears. She didn't cry like people do in movies, loud, theatrical, desperate. She cried like someone who had cried many times before, quietly, as if afraid to make a sound. I don't know what made me stay there, watching her. Maybe it was the way she looked like she was disappearing into herself. Maybe it was because something in me recognized something in her. Or maybe I was just a boy who didn't know how to help. I should have looked away. I know that. But I didn't. The next day, at school, she showed up in my grade. That was the first time I heard it. She didn't speak much. She sat in the back row and never raised her hand. She kept her sleeves pulled down over her hands, even when it was warm. She walked with her eyes fixed on the floor. People didn't bully her. They just ignored her, like she was invisible. But I saw her. I had already seen her. At night, she cried. Every night it became a strange routine. Dinner, homework, then I'd check her window. Half-open curtains, a dim yellow light, and Elise, curled into herself, crying. She never noticed me watching. I was careful not to be obvious. And to be clear, it wasn't creepy. At least it didn't feel like it. I wasn't spying. I wasn't obsessed. I just couldn't ignore her pain. Some nights, she wrote in a small black journal. Some nights she paced back and forth, holding her head like she was trying to shut the thoughts out. Other nights, she just sat frozen, eyes open, staring into space, as if waiting for something or someone. I didn't tell anyone, not even my friends. I didn't know what to say. I was afraid someone might laugh or tell me to mind my own business. But I knew deep down something was wrong. Then I saw it, a bruise on her wrist. Just for a moment, when she pushed her sleeve up to wipe her eyes. A purple-blue mark, fading at the edges. I stopped breathing. That same week, she bumped into me in the hallway. Literally, she stepped out of a door and ran right into my chest. Her eyes widened. Big, round, scared. "Sorry," she whispered. "It's okay," I said. "Are you all right?" She nodded too quickly. Then she walked away. I wanted to follow her, ask if she needed help, ask why she was crying. But I didn't. I just stood there like an idiot, watching her disappear down the corridor. I told myself I'd talk to her next time. But there wasn't a next time. Not like that. A few days later, I found a torn piece of paper tucked between two books in the school library. I wasn't sure why I pulled it out, but when I did, I recognized the handwriting. It was hers. I feel like I'm not real, like someone else is living inside my skin. I smile when I'm supposed to. I speak when they want me to. But inside, I'm just noise and shadows. I read it 3 times. Each time, the words hit harder. I looked around. Nobody noticed me. I folded the paper and kept it. That night, I watched her window again. She was crying harder than usual. Her body shook violently. Then she opened the window. The wind blew her curtains sideways, and for the first time, she looked out. She didn't see me, but for one terrifying second, I thought she was about to climb out the window. Instead, she pulled her curtain shut. The next day at school, she wasn't there. Her seat was empty. No one mentioned her. I waited. Maybe she was sick. Maybe she'd be back tomorrow. But the day after that, she was still gone. I walked by her house on the way home. All the windows were dark. The mailbox was stuffed. The front lawn was overgrown. It was like they had just disappeared. That night, the window stayed dark. I tried to sleep, but I couldn't. I kept hearing her voice in my head. That one word, sorry, and I kept seeing that bruised dot. By the 3rd day, I went to the police, told them what I saw, told them about the man in the room that night, tall, shadowed, standing behind her while she cried. They asked questions, they took notes, But I could tell they didn't believe me. I was just a kid with a wild imagination and no proof. That night, I sat in my room with her window still dark across from me. I couldn't let it go. I just couldn't. So I did the unthinkable. I went into her backyard. The door was unlocked. The house, empty, completely abandoned. No furniture, no photos, no people, just dust. I almost turned around. But then, I saw it, her journal. It was lying on the floor in her bedroom. I picked it up slowly, like it might fall apart in my hands. The cover was soft leather, scratched and faded. I opened the first page. My hands were trembling, and what I read changed everything. The first page of the journal was dated 6 months before she ever moved into our neighborhood. I don't know who I am anymore. I used to think I was a person, a girl with dreams. Now I think I'm just a shadow he drags around. I felt my chest tighten. My hands were shaking as I flipped to the next page. Every morning, I wake up hoping I've turned invisible. Because maybe if I'm invisible, he won't see me. And if he doesn't see me, maybe he won't hurt me. I stopped reading. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to run to someone, anyone, and show them what she wrote. But instead, I sat there, frozen, alone, in her empty room, surrounded by the faintest scent of her shampoo and the last traces of someone no one seemed to miss. How had no one seen it? How had I waited so long? I turned the page again. He says no one will believe me, that I make things up, that I'm too emotional. Sometimes I wonder if he's right. I clenched my jaw. I didn't know who he was. Not yet, but I hated him more than I'd ever hated anyone in my life. Another entry. I wrote a letter. I never sent it. I never will, but maybe writing it makes it real. Dear Mom, I know you love him, but I wish you loved me more. My heart cracked in half. There was a photo tucked between the pages. I pulled it out carefully. It was Elise, much younger, maybe 13. She had braces. Her hair was longer, her smile wide, but her eyes, even in the photo, her eyes looked tired. I sat there for what felt like forever, just staring. Then, I turned the next page, and that's when everything changed. I've been planning not to run away. I know I can't. He'd find me, but I've found a way to hide pieces of myself. So even if he erases me, I won't be completely gone. I didn't understand, not at first, but the next few entries began to paint a different picture. She wrote about passwords, clues, safe spaces, hidden things, like she was leaving a trail for someone, or maybe for herself to follow. I've left copies. One page read, in case something happens. One in the hollow tree. One inside the music box. One with the boy who doesn't know he's watching me. I froze. The boy who doesn't know he's watching me. Was she talking about me? No. No way. She couldn't have known. Could she? But what if she did? I reread the line again. The boy who doesn't know he's watching me. Maybe she saw me once. Maybe she always knew. I closed the journal and held it against my chest. I wasn't just some stranger who stumbled onto her story. I was a part of it. And maybe I still had time to do something. The next day, I skipped school. I went to the woods behind our neighborhood, the only place with trees big enough to hide anything that took hours. My hands were scraped, my arms cut from branches, but then, I saw it. A small hollow in the base of a tree, covered in leaves, barely noticeable. Inside, a folded envelope with my name. I stared at it for a full minute before touching it. My name, in her handwriting. I opened it, my hands trembling. Liam, I'm sorry. I don't know you. Not really. But I've seen you. I saw the way you looked at me. Not in the way others do. You didn't pity me. You didn't ignore me. You saw me. My breath caught. There's more. So much more. But I can't write it all here. I don't know who I can trust. I'm scared. But if you're reading this, it means I'm already gone. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I read the rest. I'm leaving pieces of myself behind. You found one. Please find the others. Even if you can't save me, please don't let me disappear. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept rereading her words, trying to make sense of it all. There was another clue. A music box. Where? Not in her house, that was empty. Maybe her grandmother's. A relative. I didn't know. I spent the next week asking questions around town. Quietly, carefully, I found out Elise's mom used to work at the local florist, that she had dropped out suddenly, that no one had heard from her since. One lady remembered Elise coming in with a small pink music box, said it played Claire de Lune. It was something. A thread. So I searched pawnshops, donation centers, antique stores, and 2 towns over. I found it. I don't know how I knew, but the moment I opened the lid and that soft, haunting tune played, I felt it in my bones. Inside the box, taped beneath the velvet lining, was a second note. You're still here, you're still looking. Thank you. She had drawn a map, a rough sketch, lines, arrows, street names, and a red X. It pointed to a motel, room 14. I didn't hesitate. I went. I don't know what I thought I'd find. Elise, her mother, the man, but the room was empty, except for a shoebox. Inside, a USB drive, a newspaper clipping, and a third letter. The clipping was from 2 years ago. A report of a missing girl. Her name wasn't Elise. It was Emily. I stared at it, trying to breathe. Same face, same eyes. Why would she lie about her name? Or had she? The letter answered it. My real name is Emily. Elise was the name I gave myself, because Emily belonged to the life he stole. I closed my eyes. Every truth unraveled a new wound. The USB contained files, voice recordings, scans of letters, screenshots of messages, names, dates, patterns. It was like a case file. One she built herself. She was preparing. She wasn't just trying to survive. She was trying to expose him. But she needed someone to finish what she started. That someone was me. I went back to the police. This time. I had proof, names, evidence, a timeline. They listened. They took it seriously. And within 2 weeks, they reopened the missing persons case from 2 years ago. They connected the dots. The abuse. The false identities. The movements from town to town. It turned out the man who had been hurting her wasn't just her stepfather. He was a wanted fugitive. Her mother had been helping him hide. And Emily, Elise, had been trapped between silence and survival her whole life. The police tracked them down in a remote cabin 3 states away. They arrested both. But Emily, she wasn't there. She was still missing. It's been 6 months now. They haven't found her. Some say she ran. That she's hiding somewhere, living under a new name. Others fear the worst. But me, I believe she's alive. I believe she planned everything. The trail, the clues, the escape. I believe she found a way out. Because the last line she wrote in that final letter said this: I'm not gone. I'm just free. And maybe that's enough. People ask me why I still look for her. They don't understand. They think the story is over, that the bad guy was caught, that justice was served. But justice doesn't always mean peace. And closure isn't the same thing as finding someone. I still think about her every night. I replay every moment. The window, the bruises, the letters, the music box, the journal, the hollow tree, all those pieces of her she left behind, like echoes. I don't know if she meant for me to find all of it, or if it was just her way of screaming when no one else would listen. But I heard her, and I'm still listening. The news reports moved on fast. 1 week, they were talking about the fugitive stepfather and the complicit mother. The next week, they moved on to something else. No one cared about the girl who cried every night, because she wasn't on camera, because she was still missing, because she was still invisible. I kept all the letters, all the notes, every printed photo of her I could find. I made a folder, not on my computer, that felt too fragile. I kept everything in a wooden box beneath my bed, labeled in bold black marker, Elise. Even though I now knew her name was Emily, Elise was the name she chose. Elise was the girl who fought to survive. Elise was the name I remembered. And then, weeks after everything had gone quiet, something happened. I found a letter in my mailbox. No return address, no stamp, just my name, written in the same handwriting I'd memorized. I didn't open it at first. I held it for a long time, my heart pounding, too scared to breathe. When I finally opened it, my hands were shaking. It wasn't long, just a few lines. I'm okay. I can't say where I am, but I made it out. Thank you for seeing me. I read it again, and again, and again. I pressed the paper to my face and cried for the first time in months. Real, gut-deep sobs, because she was alive, because she remembered me, because even if she disappeared from the world, I hadn't imagined her. She was real, and she knew someone had hurt her. That letter became the most valuable thing I owned. Not because it answered every question, it didn't, but because it gave me one thing I never thought I'd get: hope. I didn't know where she was. I didn't need to. She was free. But the story didn't end there. About a year later, I got another letter. This time it was typed. There are more girls. He wasn't just hurting me. He moved us around because he had secrets to hide. Some of the things I gave you weren't just about me, they were about what he did to others. Attached was a flash drive. I shouldn't have opened it. I knew that, but I did. What I found was horrifying. Photos, scanned pages, names of girls, dates, locations. Some of the files had been encrypted, like she'd learned how to protect what she found. It wasn't just a personal story anymore. It was evidence of something bigger, something far more terrifying. This wasn't just about a girl being abused in a quiet suburban home. This was a network, a trail of missing children, fake identities, forged documents. I brought the flash drive straight to the Papathis. They investigated, quietly, and what they found matched what she'd given me. Multiple aliases, connections to foster families, welfare, fraud, children who were shuffled from one place to another, all under the radar. And Emily Elise had kept a record of it all, alone. At 16, I couldn't wrap my head around it. She wasn't just a survivor, she was a whistleblower, a witness, a warrior. I never got another letter after that, I think. She disappeared on purpose, for good. Some say the government relocated her under witness protection. Others think she fled the country. Some think she never existed at all. But I know the truth, because last winter, something happened. It was snowing, heavy, quiet, soft. I went outside, just to feel the air on my face. And I found something in the mailbox. A single Polaroid dot, no note. Just a photo, of a street somewhere far away. A bookstore with a sign that said, "A place for stories to begin again." In front of the window, a girl, wearing a gray coat, her hair shorter, her face turned away. But I knew, it was her. She was smiling, not crying, not hiding, just living. And on the back of the photo, in tiny handwriting, "You saved me. But more importantly, you believed me." That was the last I ever heard from her. People move on. The world forgets. But not me, because sometimes, the ones who cry the quietest tears carry the loudest truth. And if you're lucky, if you're really paying attention, you'll hear them.